Okay. Alright. Alright, welcome everybody to a train stream. I don't know how well this is gonna work, but hopefully it's alright. This is obviously on my smaller channel, my channel with only 15 subs, but I'll try to get people in here. Hopefully some people tune in. I decided not to. I decided to switch all my trains content to this channel instead of my trains in Toronto one. So I'm gonna see if I can send a link to one of these Discords. Let's see. Check this stream. Alright. So, I think what I'm gonna be doing first is I'm gonna do some building on this route. I don't have a good name for it, so I just named it Messing Around 2 because I have a Messing Around 1. So that's just gonna be like my little series of messing around. But yeah, so what I plan on doing is just hopefully doing some scenery today and maybe adding like some buildings. I have no idea. I just know that I want to do something. So, and I can also showcase some, locomotives, whatever people ask. So hopefully we do get people in here at some point. If I don't end up getting people in here, I might try just streaming from my other channel because maybe not as many people know about this channel per se. So I'll see. And another thing I want to probably do is actually change trains to 30 FPS capped because with 60 capped, I get a lot of frame drops basically everywhere. But nonetheless, I think we have a train just like sitting there. Yeah. We've got one train sitting over here. The stream delay is probably about like 30 seconds or so. Not a problem. So yeah, despite the fact that nobody's watching right now, I'm gonna do a tour just because there are people that might watch this back. So far I only have the track up to here. I don't know how many miles this is, but it's from where my cursor is here to here, and then there's also a north-south track. So I'll just follow it. I made a river because I was bored. I don't know if I'm gonna keep it or not. I think I probably will. It's not too bad. Yeah, I'll keep this. But I want to add a lot of like farmland scenery here. I want to say this is a little bit big of a river, but at the same time, this could be like a very similar river to like something that people would have a lot of cottages on and have boats. But only small boats that are able to fit under this, which I don't even know how many boats could do that. So that's another thing considered. Or maybe there's like a invisible lake over this way. I have no idea. But this, I kind of want to be forest and farm fields, and then like cottages, like kind of what you'd see anywhere Ontario, I guess. So when you're driving through the Ontario countryside, sometimes you'll come across the highway paralleling this river. So the highway's here. I'm actually gonna make it turn and follow this train track most of the way. So there'll be like a highway bridge, then a train bridge, and usually like woods in between. And over this way, so we have the road crosses here. There's a side road here. There's like probably like just a mini highway sort of, so only with not even any crossing gates on this crossing. But it's just a start to everything. So farm field probably here, farm field here, farm field here, or actually not here. This will probably be like maybe like a gas station or something along here. But basically what I'm going for is kind of mainline eastern, like eastern Ontario, I would say. Eastern, or you could also say northern Ontario, whatever. But the mainly farm fields are in eastern Ontario, so this would kind of replicate like a Highway 2 going out towards Kingston from Toronto. Although it's not, it's just based on it. It's not really actually what it is. We've got a block signal displaying high green because there's that train back there. So then the track turns double here, and this goes on for like maybe 5 miles or something like that, and then we cross the highway again. We're just gonna say that highway continues and goes wherever the hell it goes. And then so the track continues double here for a while. I think maybe a little bit more farm fields here, and then we're getting into a town this way, I want to say. I just don't know where the downtown is going to be. So you have another road crossing the tracks here, and then you've got a switch over, which I don't know how really necessary that is because it's not very far from where the track turns back to a single track. But the track, as you can see, is raising up a bit more. Here we got some scenery here. This is the only part I've really seen. You can see how much my computer lags when I'm near this. Like, I'm going down to less than 30 FPS here, so that's kind of an issue. I don't know if it's this texturing or not, but or it could just be that my computer is a piece of garbage. So I noticed that I can, 60 FPS on this ground, and then on textured ground I go to like maybe this is like maybe 20 or something. So it's terrible. On this gravel, it's okay, though. But it's just that ground texture, so I might want to change that out or something. But anyways, so this is the only scene that I've really worked on. It's where another track goes under this one. I'm presuming that this would be one railroad and this would be another railroad. But at the same time, there's a connection here, so I'm not entirely sure on that one yet. I don't know if I want to just make it one railroad or if I want to make it multiple. But obviously this is completely fictional around here as well. So I want to say this is probably where the countryside mainly starts. And this isn't really, it's not really typically how a railroad track would run through a town either when it's all raised. So I'm thinking this is more like an industrial area, and this main line was raised at some point to go over whatever highway this is, and maybe the downtown. So this track here is just used for switching now, and it ends here, but maybe this track went into the downtown and there was a station at some point or something, but this track is no longer in service. That's one idea, would be that. But I'm not sure of anything yet. But we have our highway, so that's what I'm thinking is this is the industrial area of the downtown, and where the train tracks run now, and then there would have been a track that went to downtown over here. That's at one point, but then again, I don't know how you'd access it coming this way because there's no switch going that way from the east. So I don't know. It's completely fictional. That's the thing. So this is the other end here. I made the speed maximum 65 because there's no. Oh shoot! I actually didn't mean to. This is actually supposed to be straight here, so I'm noticing that now. Speed limit 65 because trains can basically just highball through here. It's mainly straight. So yeah, we have another thing here, and then so this obviously doesn't get used as much because it's mainly taken out. But I would say this was once a track that went into a downtown for passenger service, but no more passenger service. Just goes to here so that freights can run around and run around run around their train and service all these industries, which also has another connection here. Yeah, I'm kind of just rambling to no one. If anybody does watch this, that's cool. Hopefully I'm giving you a good enough tour. You have another crossing here. I don't know if I want to take this out, actually, because it's a really steep grade, and there's, like, a local service is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, like, 18 cars. And even if you have, like, 3 Jeeps going up this, like, 3% grade here with almost 20 cars is not going to be an easy task, but I mean, they can do it. But they probably would just prefer to go in from this side because you don't have to deal with a steep grade. But nonetheless, so this continues, and there's this is another line going south here, and it does connect with the other one. I'll show you that in a minute, but so I figured instead of just having a track that turns and then takes some insane grade to go up here, it would go underneath and then go back to ease out the grade. So we only have 0.64% at the high, like that's the steepest grade on this. Instead of having a really tight curve like right here and having a steep grade, I figured I'd do this because, I don't know, it looks cool, I guess. I don't know if I've ever seen that, but it means you can almost have like 2 trains at once. You can have one going over top and then one bottom. As well, there's a crossing here. There's a road that comes underneath and goes this way, so I don't know. It's not the most realistic thing I've ever seen, but, you know, it's fun, right? So you got your crossing here, and then you have another crossing right here. And I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense, I guess, but I'm not the best at making realistic routes. So then down this way, we have the main line continues. It goes straight for a while here, and I also don't know how realistic that is. So we finally have our first curve. We got another curve here, and then the end of a passing siding. So this is a concept inspired by CPs. They actually put block signals on the end of a siding, and the signals are capable of displaying a red over yellow. But these, with the jointed rail signal library, they're not, like, if I go into the config here, I can't choose a line that goes left or right, because it's just an automatic block signal. But somehow CP does that. So I just figured I'd put it here anyways, and maybe the trains would come past the yellow signal and then manually switch this if they were going into the siding. But I don't know. I maybe can figure out how to make that display a red over yellow or even red over green at some point, because I would probably like to do that to make it more realistic. But at the same time, I don't know. I could just make it a triple-headed signal or a double-headed, and it would make more sense because it would actually be able to display the right aspect. And I would also change this out for an automatic switch lever, because this one you'd actually have to stop your train, get out, and manually switch it in order for you to be able to get into the siding. But the other end is the opposite, so the other end actually has the automatic and the different kind of signal. So I'm presuming that they mainly use this siding for only eastbound trains to come and stop here, and all the westbounds are just going straight through, so they only need the top aspect of this signal. But then again, I don't really know. So then if we continue on, we're nearing the end of where I've built this, and I don't know if I want to actually build it more yet, because I have basically done no scenery. But then again, you kind of want to complete a route on a baseboard before you do any scenery to it, so that you can have one thing out of the way. Because the problem is that if you make one and you don't, if you make one and you start scenicking spots, and then you build another part of it, and you're like, wait, there's this kind of scenery and then each part of the route ends up looking completely different, and it doesn't look very good. I'm not a route builder myself. Like, I've made some routes, but they have never been really that substantial. Like, they have some scenery, but it's always incomplete. So anyways, this side of the siding, we have our triple-headed signal, and then we have the actual switch lever here, and then your typical signals. And usually what a siding, at least in Canada from what I've seen, they'll have the third track here just for probably like maintenance vehicles or a ballast car if they need to park it there sometime, because they won't park it on the actual siding here. So that's what I've seen. I also think this siding is probably a little bit too close to even the double track section. The double track section starts about right here, and then the siding is like right here. So I don't know how much sense that actually makes, because like, well, that's not very like same as here. I mean, so actually that's the end of it right over here. So this is another curve, and then I have stopped because I got bored. If we go this way, and so I'm thinking that an eastbound train here, some of them turn down and go here, and you follow this and it eventually leads to a yard. So it turns over this way, connects up with that other track from before, and there's a yard here. The only thing is, if you're coming in on this track, you can't pull into the yard this way. You have to access it from the other side, but that's pretty much how it works, is you're only putting a couple cars in here and not pulling your entire train. So we've got some switchers here, we've got a Y, we've got an old station, we got some industries that you can switch out here. So you've got a boxcar in there, a couple boxcars in here. This is going to be something at some point, but I don't know what. Maybe gondolas, maybe more center beams. So we got a center beam facility here, and then we have, I don't even know what this is. Like, I don't know how a tank car facility looks, but that's about the best thing. I mean, because these are like supposed to be tank loading areas, so you bring in your empty tank cars and they get loaded here with whatever they get loaded with. Here's where the trucks come in. I don't know, I haven't done any research. And then with most towns, I'm perceiving this to be a town in here with a train yard in the center of it, kind of another thing you see in Ontario a lot. This kind of being sort of like Smiths Falls, but also, it's just a straight track. Smiths Falls is actually on a curve. But, you have your old station here, you've got, your little yard, and then you got some Jeeps hanging around here. These are really loud, but these are the models. These are real old models, but they're really good. And they're free. They're on the download station, so I definitely advise getting them, because they're really well made, especially for the time. Like, they're over 15 years old, I would say. I think they're from trains 2004 or 2006. So maybe not 15. Just they're over 10 years old, so they're pretty good for their time. And obviously, I added those engine sounds, and I added the horns on them as well, because they're kind of outdated at that horn-wise. But this yard doesn't go very far. It's not enough to fit like an entire full-length train on it, but it's just mainly a yard to where these Jeeps would switch out all these industries and drop cars off here, and then a manifest would come in and drop cars off and pick stuff up and then head on its way. So sort of like that. And in turn, we have a bit of a double track here, mainly just the size of a passing siding, which is why I added the track here. But you really can't fit that big of a train on the first track here, that stretch. But I think you could probably fit a small train. So if you wanted to park a train here that was going this way while another train came in past it, you could probably do that, but don't quote me on it. And then this way it just ends as well, just a little bit further up this way. So I made a pretty tight curve here, so I'm assuming trains aren't going much more than like 40 or 50 here, but obviously we have super elevation, so a train can go at decent speed through this curve. And I don't know why this is here. I actually meant to delete this, so I'm going to do that now. And then we have it end here, so I'll follow actually the one track that's left this way. So we have this guy here, this northbound track. Goes on a nice straightaway here, and then dips into kind of a crevice here and goes under this track here. And I really do like how this scene came out. I don't like how much it lags my goddamn computer, but I do like how this one came out here. So what a local will come do is come and pass this switch. So this is supposed to be a maybe a commuter station or something. Go past that switch and then back up around here, and I'm thinking, commuter trains or even freight trains might use this, but it's got a pretty steep grade for a freight train there, but a freight train could do it if it had like a DPU or something. So local backs in, you have to lift up the derail, and then you back in here, park your train, and then you work all these industries, and then you'd have to get your engines on this side and back all the way up here, and then go this way, or they would lead their train out over here and then onto this and run around their train and then face this way and go, so they don't have to interfere with the crossing that way, which kind of makes more sense. And these signals are, as you can see, I have an invisible track here, so these signals are supposed to be off. They don't get used here anymore because this isn't a well enough used line to require signals on it anymore. So I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna go under the main line here and head back as well. This goes on a little further. This guy up here goes on a little bit further. Goes up to another siding here, very similar style. And this is a thing that CP Rail did a lot of, actually. So these, obviously these crossings are from Reggie, but he only released American ones. And I noticed that CP actually uses a lot of these, so I kit bashed, sort of. I didn't make my own asset, but I just, I placed the crossbuck and put it as close to the US one as I could, as well as a 2-track sign. For Canada, and because I noticed that CP uses a lot of these Griswold crossings throughout their system, and I figured it would be quite cool to have them on my route as Canadian crossings, because that's what I mainly like to do, is Canadian routes. I am very fascinated by American trains, but Canadian trains are my thing, I guess. So, what can you say? And we have this 6-foot signal here so that trains can stop before the crossing and know when they're cleared to continue without blocking the crossing. Let's see here. So that's not a huge passing siding either, and then this ends here. So that's basically every end of the route so far. I am pretty proud of this as a whole. However, I don't know how long it's going to take me, since I have literally all north, south, east, and west to branch out my tracks. So I don't know if I want to just continue maybe the north-south line not too far and then add a portal to just spit out trains that just go straight through or whatever. And then mainly focus on the east-west line. If I wanted to, I'm not sure what I want to do in that sense, but so since I've been talking, nobody has joined the stream, so I might just upload this as a video on this channel and then see if I can get some people that are interested in watching, because I have been asked to stream, and it seems like nobody who asked me to is here now, so I don't think it's a good idea to do that many upgrades to the route when nobody's watching. So I think I'll end this one here, and I'll see if I can get more people here, and then I'll continue it. Maybe doing some driving or some scenery. As well, if anybody has recommendations as to what kind of computer would be the absolute, well, not the absolute best, but would be better
for running trains than my current one. So my current specs are I have a GTX 1050 Mini and an i5 7th gen i5 processor. So not the worst, but not the best. And I only have 8 gigabytes of RAM as well. But as you can see, I can run trains at 60 until you have a bunch of scenery, and then it completely screws everything up. So another thing I want to add is I know a lot of these restricting signals have mileposts on them, so I'm going to probably come in here with my ruler tool and just go throughout the entire thing to see if I can mark these signals properly with the proper mile markers. And that involves figuring out where the subdivision starts or whatnot, so that would probably require me to do the entire route first, start to finish. So there would probably be a big yard at one end and then a portal, sort of like the oh man, I'm losing myself here. The PNB, Pennsylvania and Berwick